Welcome to Bad Gear, the show about the world's most hated audio tools. West Coast Synthesis, the eccentric lost sibling of Bob Moog's more accessible East Coast approach, who smells of incense sticks and is fun at parties, as long as he's not in charge of the Spotify playlist. Today we are going to talk about the cre8audio West Pest. This 2022 instrument is both anachronistic and very modern. Another analog mono, fully Eurorack compatible, it comes with a more than questionable name and design and is as West Coast as it gets.
At the first glance, the West Pest is ticking all the epic marketing fail boxes. The semi-modular synth is based on its own C-movie superhero in Ethan Roark Jr. colors. The big fat knob is not cut off, it mysteriously happens to be located next to a resonance parameter though. And most of the more interesting features are hidden behind the 1-octave keyboard, consisting of breath mint-shaped buttons. This oftentimes overwhelming depth of functionality can be monitored using a what cre8audio calls 4-bit display. I call it cynical. The unique sounds of the Pest have their roots in a Pittsburgh modular oscillator offering sine, triangle, saw, and pitched noise, which can be mixed and switched randomly. It is capable of FM using the LFO or an external source. As is West Coast tradition, this signal generator is fed into a wave folder adding harmonic content, again modulated with the LFO, or controlled using external CV. In what looks like a primitive and attack-less envelope lurks a Buchla-style low-pass gate-like contraption, which works great for percussive sound and, you guessed it, can be modulated in the release stage. The driving force behind all the aforementioned pre-wired modulation options is a super fast triangle-shaped LFO with an additional square output. This clicky and noisy synth engine can be triggered using Midi, the internal keyboard, or the somewhat obscure Arpeggiator, and transposable 32-step sequencer. The latter has no dedicated play-stop buttons, it starts as soon as you turn it on, and tap and MIDI sync are the only ways to set tempo. Patterns can be generated automatically, sequencer direction can be set to random. There's swing, you can cycle through octaves, and even basic functions like gate length require you to make use of 2 layers of super cryptic and confusing keystroke combinations. Speaking of these arcade fighting game cheat code worthy commands, I found no intuitive way to memorize them. They are an absolutely integral part of the workflow and are needed for features like MIDI setup, LFO sync, generating random voltage, kickstarting the internal MIDI to CV converter, and adjusting the decay envelope. All the feedback you can get on these complex operations comes from 4 LEDs in binary form. I want an 80s Roland display now. As mentioned before, this monstrosity is Eurorack compatible. There are patch points, but not many. I've heard some horror stories about build quality, but couldn't confirm them. In case you want to update the instrument equipment you need to open the enclosure. At around $250 it is comparably affordable, and thanks to Klangfarbe for being the awesome people they are and lending me another instrument from their shop floor.
The West Pest is a self-contained synth voice that combines the connectivity of Eurorack with Buchla-esque sound aesthetics and is available for a modest price. Is it the ideal West Coast gateway drug?
You have already heard the synth in today's intro tune. I don't think Don Buchla designed his instruments for YouTube channel leitmotif production. Let's start this out with some conventional synth patterns.
That wasn't half bad. The overall character of the synth is great and it wants to be friends with your FX pedal collection. However, the cryptic UI is a major PITA and the sequencer is a little too basic for my taste. Time to combine the instrument with an external modulation source. I'm sure modular aficionados will come up with plenty of ideas to squeeze more sonic diversity from the Pest, but even with external modulation sequencers, the tonal spectrum stays limited. I'm missing the more powerful synthesis toolkit of similarly affordable instruments like the Volca Modular. Up until now, I've only managed to create different variations of the same synth tone. I wanna know if we can push the Pest out of its comfort zone in this new school Buchla step versus Eurofunk from a West Coast of your choice. Verdict: West Coast synthesis is enshrouded in mystery, and affordable instruments like the Pest make these uncharted territories a little more accessible, especially in combination with other Eurorack modules. However, in spite of the deep and characterful sounds, the workflow can be a challenge even to seasoned synthesists who will most probably opt for a more upscale Buchla-style setup anyway. Personally, I have 3 gripes when it comes to the West Pest. First, it is almost too nerdy, even for a nerd like me. Second, I liked the fake movie of its East Beast sibling better, and finally, the name is really dumb. But who am I to judge? I'd do everything for a social media joke too. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Feel free to like, subscribe, become a patron and leave a comment what other kind of gear you would like to see and hear on the show.